Hello, once again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of AIW's The Card is Going to Change. And before we start this week's episode, of course, we want to say thank you to those who help us bring the show to you for free, whichever podcast platform you choose to listen. You may not have been able to indulge in Smokin' Jay's barbecue last week, but they're always there for us at the Odeon, and we love to throw support their way too. Follow on social media at smokin_jays, Jays, BBQ, and see what they have to offer. You can go pick up some food from them in the Maslin area. Certainly, catering is and has been their bread and butter for some time, so you can get an idea of what they offer for your next major event, no matter how big or small it may be in terms of people. Smokin' Jays, they do a tremendous job. If you got people who don't eat meat and you're worried, what about the vegetarians or the vegans? They've got options. So check out Smokin' Jay's barbecue. And thanks, of course, to the merger of Smart Mark Video and Independent Wrestling TV, or IWTV. Watching AIW has never been easier. You go to smartmarkvideo.com and purchase any AIW that's ever been available in our archives on DVD or digital download. And if streaming is more your thing, then sign up to IWTV. It's just $9.99 a month. Not only do you get a rotating archive of AIW shows, including our most recent releases and live streaming events, but you also get a plethora of other independent wrestling promotions as well, and original series brought to you by IWTV. And I should mention, by the way, that also on replay right now on video on demand on IWTV is this past weekend's Gauntlet for the Gold, which we'll get into a little bit on this episode of The Card is Going to Change.
Let's get those views up. I want this to be the most viewed AIW event in the history of being on IWTV.
Well, certainly for the second AIW show in a row, there is a short video clip that will be among the most viewed in history of AIW, but more on that momentarily. As always, AIW owner John Thorne is here. My name is Steve Guy, your moderator of sorts. And before we get into, well, we're not going to listen. Let me preface this. There are going to be a lot of people that want to know a lot of things about Gauntlet for the Gold. We're not going to have time to cover everything. We're not going to review the entire show, but we're going to talk about a lot of fun things that kind of encapsulate the entire day and weekend. So we will mention those. But before all of that, it's time for the shout out segment. And I'm going to lead things off with Jeremy Lambert. Shout out to him from Fightful. John Thorne, not only did you do that podcast last week, but Jeremy came to our show and ended up winning. He ended up being the raffle winner for
really
Minoru Suzuki. Turnbuckle pad.
Oh, he won the raffle. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, he won the turnbuckle pad.
he didn't win the gauntlet for the cash though.
Did not win the gauntlet for the cash. Shout out to our winners there. I don't remember all the names of everyone, but the one that stands out to me is Michelle Carter.
I think White Oprah won too. I think.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it was like a Richard Thomas. Somebody.
Yeah, I know. Rick Thomas won. I thought Pedro. I don't know. I thought Pedro. I know he said
maybe
Shell Bell Photography won.
Yeah, Shell Bell Photography won. And so shout out to Michelle there. She always gives us some amazing photos, and Gauntlet for the Gold was no different, no exception. So it's fun that in a way we gave back to her on this night. And shout out to our fan photographers, because there are some amazing photos that come out from Gauntlet for the Gold and all its happenings.
I think I'm probably in the minority of independent wrestling promoters, but like I really hate the pro photography. I really love the fan photography. Like I think it has just such a different, grittier vibe. And some of these fans are bringing really just high grade camera. So it makes it look that much cooler when, you're kind of shooting through the people to get these shots. There's some great stuff. Michael Porter always does great stuff. I'm trying to think, Shell Bell Photography, obviously, Russell Williams, I believe does a bunch of great stuff too. So yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of them, Ed Batts, when he decides to bring his, stop protesting his, photography shooting. He does some good stuff.
And White Oprah, we've shouted her out before on this podcast. She'll take photos, but then she does those like really cool graphic things leading up to or after shows.
Yeah.
Denise does an awesome job with those.
Yeah, it's great.
Jose Rodriguez, there's another one. Jose does always with some really cool photos.
You kind of stole my shout out though, because I was going to shout out, Fightful for giving me a little airtime to promote Gauntlet for the Gold. I really haven't been doing other podcasts. I just don't have time, and they hit me up, and I thought, well, yeah, I'll do that. So shout out to Jeremy and Steven Jensen. It was really just such a great and easy interview to do. Sometimes, you do these podcasts and people don't know too much about AIW, and Steven especially was like very knowledgeable of everything AIW, so it made for a really good conversation. I believe it's up on their YouTube page. So yeah, shout out to them, Fightful, everyone for kind of giving us a little bit of extra push this week. It's interesting because, we haven't really been getting too much of that. You know what I mean? And just coincidentally, it happened. And now, as we'll get into, we made quite a bit of headlines this weekend.
Yeah, my only disappointment in your appearance on there is that they didn't know to shout out Mr. Whiskers. I heard Whiskers in the background now, and when you were on Fightful. You can't appear on a podcast without Whiskers.
Well, because this is what's going to happen. If I close the door on Whiskers, then she just meows the entire time directly outside the door. Or I let her in, and sometimes she eventually just lays down in front of the microphone and stops bumping into it, like she just did right now. So
shout out to Robles from Smart Mark Video. Robles, folks, is your big hero. He is the one who not only did Robles make the live streaming happen on Saturday, but perhaps what a lot of people don't know is that then Robles booked it home, and you got everything set to go in terms of edit wise to make it clean so that it could go then on video on demand on IWTV. That's him too. So huge shout out to Robles, because obviously all of the fun events and surprises were being talked about, and he was able to get that sucker up as quickly as possible, and that's huge.
Yeah, he had to take a little nap first, but also, shout out to Jordan and Ivan and, the rest of the Midwest crew that was handling the production on Saturday night. We'll get into all that stuff too as we get into the bulk of the conversation. I think I only got one more shout out, and I'm gonna.
Okay.
It's kind of the it kind of really sums up how the rest of the week would go. And that is shout out to my great grandmother, AKA Nana, who passed away at 106 years old in 2019. And Nana had herself a will, and Nana was 106. She was in assisted living for quite some time. And I got mailed this paperwork like 2 years ago, and I just thought it was a formality, and I got contacted by a cousin and great uncle, one of Nana's two remaining children that are alive, my uncle Bill, who's great uncle Bill, who's 83. Got contacted by them to they wanted to meet up with me on Wednesday of last week to go over closing out the estate, and went, okay, sure, like what there's like I'm probably gonna have to sign a form that says I saw that there's nothing left, and well, I was quite wrong. And I got a little bit of an inheritance on Wednesday, which was very surprising. And that really kind of set the tone for the week. I don't think I've had a more positive week in my entire life than this past week. So yeah, shout out to Nana for somehow figuring out how to take care of this gigantic family all very well, because it wasn't just me that got something. It was every living descendant essentially got received an inheritance over the last week, which was really unbelievable when you think about it. Because Nana didn't work, and my great grandfather died in 1994. So he must have socked away every single penny he ever made. Because she goes on to live for nearly an additional 30 years off of his money, and then goes, later in life is in an assisted living home, and still has money to give to the rest of the extended family. So she had 5 children, and only 2 of them are still alive, but every section, of the family, those 5, every family got like a pretty large sum of money to split amongst themselves, which is insane. So yeah, shout out to Nana and Pa. Those are how I knew them when I was growing up. So yeah, pretty crazy. 106 years old, and still had a trust in all this stuff set up to take care of the extended family. Pretty crazy. And I mean, that makes you think, like, man, like that is like just that goes to show you, that term, that old money, you know what I mean? It lasts. Because you would have never guessed Nana and Pa had anything. So, they lived a very modest, what appeared to be middle-class lifestyle, but I guess they were just putting everything away to take care of the family when they were no longer here, which it's crazy to think about in the situation that, the world is in now. Everyone is really struggling to think, these people came up through the Great Depression and, all this other stuff. And, saved fucking, I mean, they must have saved literally like every penny. I mean, I'm not going to say how much it is, but, and it's not a life-changing amount of money, but it was certainly a nice little way to, have a Wednesday evening. So yeah, very thankful for that. So, yeah, that's my big shout out.
I mean, it's a great shout out. It's my final shout out pales in comparison to that. Mine is just simply, I ran through the Taco Bell drive-thru because the Mexican pizza is back, and I was very excited about that. Shout out to Taco Bell, but nowhere near as giving as Nana and Pa. So who cares?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, if you understood like how many people got money and like substantial amount of money, like I was doing the math and I'm like, where in the fuck did they get this kind of money? Like it's crazy.
Well, it could also have been not a massive sum of money, but a good amount of money put into an account that was generating a ton of interest. And if she wasn't going on big vacations or buying a home, I mean, she was certainly assisted living isn't cheap, but this account just generating interest when he passed away, perhaps for the last 25, 30 years then.
Well, yeah, I mean, they did have a
Yeah, I
house.
mean,
They did have a house, and she sold the house. And I assume, she had like they had like a trust set up and all
mhm.
this, all this stuff. But I mean, it's really mind blowing to think about. I mean, I don't know. It just really was like, wow, like that is so impressive to be able to do that. Like
Yeah,
I could have cared less. I didn't think that I was going to get $1, and I didn't care. You know what I mean? But
sure.
um, very, very, very thankful for that, and I don't know, just makes you think about how the mentality was probably for them, and it probably had a lot to do with coming up through the Great Depression and all that stuff. But yeah, just crazy. I mean, just crazy way to head into a show week. I'll tell you that. I mean, I had no worries. I mean, I'll say it was enough money for me to have absolutely no worries about how Saturday went. I'll say that.
Well, let's get into Saturday as you bring it up here. Let's just get right into the heart of the matter, the meat and potatoes, the big thing everybody's going to want to know about, and then we'll work our way from there in terms of other surprises and things that were in store. Folks, if you listened to this show last week, maybe the last couple times, we talked about that there would be surprises, and there always are for Gauntlet for the Gold, but everybody presumed that would be the surprises in terms of who was participating in the actual gauntlet itself. However, prior to the gauntlet, there were two very big surprises. One came in the form of a tag team match. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the other is the one that the world of independent wrestling is talking about right now as we sit here days later. I'm still going to claim her as our very own.
The world of wrestling, I think, is talking.
The world of pro wrestling, is talking about it. Many people may know her as DMD, but it wasn't that long ago that she was being introduced in our ring, and I would say sweetheart of AIW, Britt Baker. So the sweetheart returned home, Britt Baker, now Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and what a monumental surprise it was, not just to the people in attendance, but it was amazing to see and still see the reaction and reception that it is getting on social media, because no one saw this coming.
Yeah, I mean, if you could have tested my anxiety on Saturday, I mean, it was through the roof, because I am so pessimistic. I thought something was going to fall apart with this. I mean, travel has been horrendous all throughout the country. Like, there's so many variables that could have went wrong, and I was terrified. I was so terrified. In fact, I would not look at my phone Saturday morning. I was trying desperately every time I got a text to not look, because I thought it was going to be bad news. And it all worked out, thankfully. This is one that I've been working on for a long time. This is, the ace up the sleeve, so to speak, that, I've been waiting to pull, and we pulled the card on Saturday. There were various times where I thought it was going to fall apart throughout the last, month or so. And it all worked out. For those who are unaware, Britt Baker and I are in contact multiple times a week, just, talking about the industry, what's going on with AIW, what's going on, with AEW, what, where she's at, she does everything that is going on. We're just constantly in communication, and, she's hinted at it, but I don't want to say that there's talents that are off limits, but she isn't really inclined to do indies, like some people really want to do them. Some people don't have to do them, sort of thing. And there are people like her who has a dental career and a wrestling career and tries to work in autograph signings on the weekends that are very lucrative. So, it's like, it's just not something that is on her radar at all. And, AEW was great about the whole thing. And I don't think she's really ever inquired to do an indie. It's just not something that's, she does anymore. So, we've joked about it over the years, kind of, about doing it, but I've never really pushed it. And then when we brought Chelsea in as the surprise a few months ago, then the jokes kind of like started getting a little bit more conversational. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was, I would joke with Chelsea, and then Chelsea would joke with Britt, and then Britt would, say something to me, and then, it kind of went around. And then, at their wedding, Britt and, Brian Myers were like partners in the wedding party, and they were joking about wrestling each other at AIW. And, there was just all these, just kind of different weird things that kept, I don't know, coming around, so to speak. So the original plan, it was going to be Chelsea, Cardona, and Myers against the Britt City Shooters. And then as things kind of started heating up a little bit about a date, Fridays are kind of tough because of Rampage. So, you have to really kind of zero in on a Saturday. And Saturdays are, she does a lot of conventions and things like that. So I will reveal that the Doctor Is In show was kind of a hint, right? Like, I don't know if anybody picked up on it, but we dropped a very subtle hint there that the Doctor would be in at the Tadmor Shrine eventually. And it almost happened on that day. So it was kind of like we booked Dr. D, and I was working on this thing just as like a backup plan, so to speak. And then, she had a convention, and there was just no way, based on where the convention was, there was no way, because we were going to surprise her. We were going to try to do an angle there. And there was no way, because the main event was Rip City versus the Major Players. But there was no way for her to get there, so we just kind of nixed it. And then once we kind of were zeroing in on this May 21st date, Brian Myers had to leave the equation because he was already booked for Swoggle's show in Oshkosh. So then it became like some rebooking, so to speak. But all in all, though, I will say Britt never was fully okay, I can do it. We talked about it and she looked into it, but there was never 100% on her end. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just kind of kept at it. And then I said, hey, what about this day? And then she kind of put it in her calendar for AIW, but never, and didn't take other things that day. But, there's a process you have to go through, to get cleared, to wrestle on an independent if you're an AEW talent. So, she just talked directly to Tony, and, he approved it, but it didn't get fully approved because you have to remember, she is in the middle of this Owen Hart tournament. She's on television every week. She's had some injuries in the past. There's a lot of concern there. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
it was kind of a done deal. And then it was officially like, once I rebooked the whole thing, and I said, because initially, of course, you want to advertise it and all that stuff. But then, once the Cybernetico thing came into play, and we were just at first doing the Cybernetico just to do the Cybernetico. And then I think that day or the day before, I came up with this whole new angle, which is exactly how it played out on Saturday. Based on the fact that, Brian Myers was out now. So we needed now, the opposing team, because, Chelsea had to be in the match. That was like, that's, they wanted to wrestle each other. Britt really wanted to do that. So now you can't go Cardona, Chelsea, and one member of PME. So I'm like, we have to fix this. And then, I just decided, okay, well, we're going to do this with Dom, and, we're going to say the Cybernetico winner gets a title shot in Akron. And then, that gives a 4-on-4 at that point. So, I mean, it's not like that juicy of a story other than the fact that Britt wanted to do it. And she talked directly to Tony Khan, who approved her to do it, and very thankful for that. He could have said no. I mean, if I'm Tony Khan,
shout out to Tony Khan. Yeah.
If I'm Tony Khan, I'd probably say, I probably would say no, honestly, in all honesty. I mean, this is one of my major stars, and, it was, she really wanted to do it. I mean, that's what's really juicy about the story is, Britt really wanted to do this angle. She really wanted to be in there with Chelsea. She really wanted to give AIW a moment. She really wanted to do stuff with Dom, Josh, and Wes, and PME by default, obviously. So she saw it as a great opportunity to, for lack of a better term, give, these other, shine a light on these other people from the AIW school, that she did train with and came up with, and, has been friends with for years and wrestled and, everything else. And, so that's, and I, initially, I said, it's not streaming live. I'm not going to advertise. I'm not trying to, get rich off of this at all. I just think that it's going to be a cool moment. And, she didn't think that she was going to get a pop, to be honest.
She had to have thought that she was going to get some sort of reaction.
She thought she was going to get booed. I said,
why?
There's no way. I mean,
why she think because she's a heel on
television, and
she's like at this point, I feel like she's in between. But I will tell you this,
and she does have kind of like that PTSD of some of those Mount Carmel crowds were a little rough, So she's like, oh, they're gonna hate me. Like, I don't know, but like I really want to do this, but she didn't think it was gonna be what I knew that it would be,
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, I felt so great about how we were going to do the angle, right? Like once I kind of audibled from the, the Cardona, Myers, and Chelsea thing, I thought, because I mean, Myers was a big part of it because Britt, much like any wrestler on earth with a brain, like thinks Brian Myers is just like a genius of a professional wrestler, and she really wanted to wrestle him, much like Chelsea and much like
Yeah.
Cardona, but like she really like Brian Myers was a big piece of this puzzle.
Well, and he was around in AIW when she was first starting out. Like they were crossing paths.
So like I explained it to her, and then like even like on Sunday, the Sunday before, she forgot, and I had to like say like, no, like it changed, which she was okay with. But she really wanted to wrestle Brian Myers. I just wanted to throw that out there. And that was a big, I mean, it's not that juicy of a story, like I was saying, but, it's just like little things like that to where you like, I go, oh, okay, well, maybe this is going to make it fall apart, or maybe this is going to make it fall apart, or, maybe, AEW doesn't want her wrestling, she has a TV match, that week, just different things were, very, very concerning. And like, I was just anxious the whole time. And, on Sunday, the Sunday before, she started asking me all these questions finally about it. And I was like, what's going on? And she's like, well, Tony's asking me what's going on, what the plan is. And I was like, oh no, like I was just, I got, and no reason to get scared, but like, I just got like, oh, he's not going to know who any of these people are, and he's going to say absolutely not. And then, she just said, no, he just wanted to know, he's totally cool with it. And, just wanted to, reiterate, that he hopes that nobody hurts me, a sort of thing. So, which is understandable. He doesn't know, everybody. This is his, this is his investment. This is his, a major television star on his product. So anyway, I know this is maybe a boring explanation of everything, but Sunday, which that was when we were having our big board meeting or whatever, and we're trying to really work out the gauntlet. And then like I started getting these texts, and I went, oh no, it's all falling apart. I was terrified, right? And then I'm just terrified, and like she says it's fine, but then I'm just anxious all week because. And I'll get into why in a few minutes, but, it was really a testament to her pushing this through. I mean, she's the only one that could have pushed this through. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And she could have easily said no. She could have easily said, I don't know. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people like that.
Sure.
That once they make it, and that's it. And
I want to clarify a little bit though, like on her behalf, because I don't want people listening to this and being like, "Oh, Britt doesn't respect the indies," even though this is how she came up. It's not about that so much as how you had already alluded to. Her schedule is so jam packed.
Yeah, I mean, she just doesn't.
She got on a flight early the next morning and was out of town again. She had to be somewhere.
Right. I mean, she actually had to turn something down, which is, a big comic convention, thing where, she does extremely well to do AIW. There's just, so much more money involved in this convention circuit, and then, on top of the dental practice, the TV schedule, all the traveling, she just does not have the time to go out and, work the indies every single weekend, and, she also needs to, preserve her body as well,
Yeah,
which is
right,
understandable.
right.
So, I mean, so this is what I'll get into as to why my anxiety was so high.
Mhm.
She said she did not want a fee. She did not want me to buy a flight. She did not want me to buy a hotel room. She was going to do all of it and cover the entire thing, which made me feel uneasy because, I would have paid her whatever she would have asked, and I certainly would have covered the travel in the hotel. But I didn't know when she was coming, when she was leaving, what was going on. And finally on late Saturday morning, because I didn't really hear from her Friday. I had to remind her like Wednesday because she keeps her gear at TV. Like, it travels with the AEW stuff. I said, you have to get your gear, you have to get your boots. And, she told me that she had it all on Wednesday, packed away. But Saturday, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't, because usually, I buy the flight. So if there's a delay, I get an email or a text, all that stuff. So like, literally we were just flying blind on, what was going on. And, she told me when she landed and all that stuff, but, earlier in the day, I heard from Swoggle, who was running, and he was having travel issues with people that were coming to his show.
Mm-hmm.
So he was calling me at 8:00 in the morning, and he was just like, hey, this is what's going on with me. And just kind of vent, and, was bouncing solutions off of me. And I was like, dude, like, this is giving me an anxiety attack. Cause like the same airport that he was having trouble with was the same airport Britt was coming from. So I was like, oh my God. And like, if she didn't make it, nobody would have known, right? Like it wouldn't have mattered, but I knew how important this whole thing was going to be and how big it was going to be. Like I've had envisioned this happening a million times. So finally, like I get a text, like 11 something in the morning, and it's like, oh, Liv Morgan's on my flight. She just saw me, and I was like, oh well, at least she's on her way, because there was a house show in Canton on Saturday, yeah. So like WWE people were on her flight. So I was like, well, I guess she's coming, you know what I mean? And then she didn't want to ride, she didn't want picked up, she took an Uber and did all of that, and then got to, she told me she landed, which, my anxiety was a little eased at that point. And then when she finally arrived about like 6:15 to the Tadmore Shrine, and I was like, oh my God, you've practically given me a heart attack all day.
I knew where she was. I was, because she landed about the same time as Eddie. So she and I were texting and figuring it out at that point. She's like, I want a nap and I want to work out. She did not want to go to Waffle House with Eddie Kingston and I, but maybe her loss. I don't know. Maybe not. She probably made the better decision. Do you remember, John Thorne, the original idea and pitch for the Britt City Shooters, though? We brought this up that this has been in motion, but
it was going to be at Wrestle Rager last year at the first stop.
It was. And at the time, the Rip City Shooters were heels, and it was going to be the Britt City Shooters wearing all Pittsburgh gear against Parker Pierce. I don't remember who the other one was, but then Peyton Hillis, if we could get him.
Yeah, there's a lot of wild ideas about that Wrestle Rager last year, as we've documented on this podcast.
Can you imagine looking back at that Wrestle Rager now if we had the Britt City Shooters, Peyton Hillis, and then
I will say the Britt City Shooters idea has been on the table for quite some time.
It has, yes.
But yeah, so I mean, it was just such a crazy day. And, just to go back to how bad that she wanted to do it, she, and I don't want to blow her spot up or anything like that, but, I think it needs to be said, she did refuse a fee. She refused any flight money. She refused hotel money, her meet and greet money. She took and gave to Pedro and said, put this towards the company. And then she took her own personal money and paid every single one of the local AIW crew, that have come through the school. She paid every single one of those that were in her match a cash bonus, which is it's crazy. And it's, it's like a 1 in a million thing, in my opinion, for somebody to come and do that of her caliber. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's amazing. It was, it was so cool to have her back. And, there are goosebump moments throughout the course of that night. And that was one of them. And if you watch it back, I'll tell you what, I, as your ring announcer and person who's there and everything, I try to keep a relatively good straight face. I do not have one there, man. Grinning ear to ear, because it just, not even just for us, but just knowing Britt, as long as I've known her and what being back means to her, and then what that reception, meant. It was so hard not to smile and just be excited and happy for everybody involved, for AIW, for the our guys that were in the match with her, for the fans, and for Britt. Just a unbelievably special moment.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to blow her spot up, but I mean, it needs to be said, what she did for that to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So go to her pro wrestling tee store or something. You know what I mean? Buy a t-shirt. I mean, she didn't have to do any of this, like, we all are, I know you and I especially are very self-aware enough to know that she is a gigantic superstar now in the world of wrestling.
Right.
And, I am certainly familiar with how gigantic superstars handle themselves in the world of wrestling. And whether she went to our school or not, I mean, she didn't have to do that. And she did. And, just kind of one more little notation about that is, at the end of the night, when she did the meet and greet and all that stuff, and her and Pedro were counting the money. And then, she's explaining, to us in secret that she wants to pay all these guys that were in the match these bonuses. So I go and, I start rounding those guys up, and I say, hey, go see Pedro around the corner. And Britt leaves, and, she says bye, and she leaves. So my assumption was, okay, you're not taking a fee and, all this other stuff. She's gonna keep that meet and greet money. So, I assume that's what they were doing back there, her and Pedro. And, she even keeps me in the dark of this as like a surprise to me, so to speak. And so she leaves, pretty quickly, gets out of there. And then Pedro is giving out these bonuses. And then, the Shrine people were, kind of honest about how messy it was in the locker room. So it was very chaotic at the end of the night. And, Pedro is trying to, he's vacuuming and he's doing all this stuff. And then, I grab a student and I say, hey, you do this. I said, Pedro, let's go for a walk. I was like, because I wasn't privy to anything that went on, back there when, they were going over this meet and greet. And I said, well, how did the meet and greet do? And he told me, and I said, oh, good. I'm glad, that she made something, for doing all this. He said, no. He said, she said that this money goes to the company. She didn't take $1. And I said, what? And I mean, dude, like, honestly, like, it almost made me cry. Like, I felt very emotional about that. Cause I mean, that's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to do that. She gave up her time, did a match, did a meet and greet. Like, I know what she gets for these Comic Cons, and I mean, it's an insane amount of money. Like, so it's like for her to give that up and then give every dollar back, like, dude, like that's great. I texted her and I said, dude, what are you doing? Like, come get this money. And she just said, no, that's for you. That's for AIW. You guys are a big reason why where I am. And you guys, took care of me when I was a scrub. So I want you to have it all. And I mean, that's just crazy. I don't want this to be, exposing too much of the business or whatever, but it needs to be noted somewhere on the record that, what she did because she wants this company to still be here. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's kind of the theme of the day was everybody, really everybody just giving back to this company, which
Insane.
made, I think, the whole day even more special.
I mean, not to blow his spot up, but Eddie Kingston, same thing.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say, yeah.
And we're not asking, you know what I mean? I would have given Britt X amount of thousands of dollars on Saturday. You know what I mean? It would have been worth every penny. Just crazy. And listen, if you're listening to this, don't think that you're going to get that deal either. Okay. I want to preface that,
there is in fact a special bond that, this organization has with those people.
It's just, and sometimes I don't buy into it because so many things have not gone that way. So I am a little jaded. And when it happens, it hits me so hard. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of breaks down because I do have this kind of, kind of hardened, just outlook on dealings with people in the business, and man, when that happens, it's just like, man, like it's just so like it hits you like a ton of bricks, like honestly.
And and Eddie's form, additionally, of giving back, becomes a fantastic write up on was that theringer.com?
Yes,
it was
The Ringer.
right. Great write up there of Eddie's match with Isaiah Broner, and it gets listed with all this stuff that's happening in mainstream television wrestling, and then like also go watch this match Eddie Kingston and Isaiah Broner. But to their point, man, he doesn't have to go out and have a match like that on the independents anymore.
No, he texted. I don't think it was in The Ringer, but he texted me today. He's like, I read some article that said I should have went out there and just had a comedy match. He's like, fuck that.
Yeah, that's not going to be who he is. But so there's that, and then just all the other surprises of the day. Those are surprises, and those are I can't think of the words, results of the connection that those people feel to this company. Let's start with Gary the King Baller. Gary came up in the AIW school, went on to law school, folks. He's doing great. We had a great conversation before the show. I sat there and talked to him for 20-30 minutes and just catching up on life and things and what he's up to. And
yeah, he's a practicing lawyer at a big firm.
And but AIW and what he did here holds a very special place in his heart. So when that opportunity is presented to him, say, hey, Gary, you don't have to come back and do a whole bunch of matches, but man, what if you come back and do this gauntlet, do this one spot? He's in,
I mean, it just felt the whole day, and obviously these specifically, like the two instances with the people that are now on to great superstardom, Eddie Kingston and Britt Baker, them kind of saying, no, this is for you guys. I mean, insane just feeling, you know what I mean? Just nuts. But then just seeing all of these old faces, it's very easy to just dislike people from your wrestling past. But I mean, some of the, the group that we put together on Saturday was just, man, it could not have been a happier, just great group of people to be back in the locker room again. It was, and I know I told you this, but before I saw Britt, because we got the Shrine to open up all these extra rooms because we definitely wanted to hide her. So before I saw her, Dom came and grabbed me and like, he was like, the eagle has landed, like she's in the building. So I'm like, oh, okay, I should go find her. Because, I even texted her, I said, I'm not going to believe this is happening until you're actually in the Tadmor Shrine. I don't care even if you're in Cleveland right now. Like, I'm not believing it until you're in the Tadmor Shrine. So anyway, Dom tells me this and I go in the back and like her and Dick Justice are hugging and
let me give you this story.
Well, before you say it though,
because this,
I know you're part of it, but like seeing that and you just go, wow, like this is a for real family reunion today, because I'm sure they were both, in those AIW locker rooms all those years ago, 2016, 2017. Probably were in some sort of scrambles together and stuff.
Not just scrambles. See, you forgot about this, John Thorne. We talk about this all the time, man. Biggins, that lockdown memory. Space Monkey and Dick Justice were Britt's backup in storyline for, a good part of time.
I don't remember that either. Probably with the Swoggle thing.
So they were part of it, and I think they were part of the Swoggle thing. They were there during that match. So,
but like seeing that,
they worked together.
Seeing that, I was like, wow, like this is so weird. I guess because it's like, yeah, of course they know each other. Of course they're friendly with each other. Of course it's great for them to see each other. But like, it's like, it's weird, because of what Britt has gone on to be. And it's like weird to see her kind of like almost back in time again, like with all of these guys that were around so early in her career and like how happy she was to see everybody. And like, that's the first image I saw of Britt on Saturday. And I went, wow, like this is like a family reunion. Like it was just, it's crazy. It's like, your cousin that you haven't seen in, 5 or 6 years, it's just, it was really kind of, I'm not like a big, softie or whatever, but like this day, like did it to me, like seeing that like was just like, man, like this is just like so nice that everybody is together just for these few hours again,
It was, it was so great. I talked to Gary for a while, and then I'm on the microphone testing out the mics.
You want to tell your Big Justice part.
So I'm standing in the back, and it was similar to what you're saying, like, oh man, it's so great, like this little family reunion thing. And I'm back there with Marion Fontaine and Ben Boone and Dick Justice, and we're all talking and hamming it up and having a good time. And Britt comes walking down the hallway and she's like, oh, hey, Steve Guy, and starts walking towards me. And she walks towards me. So, oh my gosh, and sees Marion Fontaine. She's like, oh, Ben Boone, and gives Ben Boone a hug, and then, hugs me and starts talking to me. And she asked, you see Thorne? I'm like, no, I'm not sure where he is. He's around, whatever, blah, blah. And Dick Justice is just kind of behind her. He's like, oh, well, I guess I don't really mean, she must not remember me or whatever. But the thing is, and everybody saw this, obviously, when he comes out later on as a Gauntlet surprise, Dick Justice is largely, which, oh, by the way, this is another thing we did last week on the podcast. We knew that Dick Justice was going to be there when we asked whatever happened to him.
Oh, but that was such a softball lie for me to do last week.
Oh yeah,
I haven't talked to him. Like I literally have been texting him for weeks.
But he is very much retired, mostly from wrestling outside of old wrestling. So a lot of people haven't seen him, and man, just great for him. The transformation that he's undergone, and he has lost so much weight that to a lot of people, he doesn't have those sunglasses, the bandana, and the fanny pack on. They don't realize that it's Dick Justice. And that's what happened with Britt. And she's standing back there. And so I go, hey, Britt, I was like, you probably didn't recognize, but let me introduce you to the rest of Dick Justice that's still left. And, she turns around, she's like, oh my God. and then gives him that long embrace, and they talk for a while. And, she was just like everybody else. And I mean, so many of us, I think at first were like, who the heck is this walking in? And we're like, holy shit, that's Dick Justice, man. And such, so it was so great for him, and to see him doing well, and I mean all these guys doing well. Ben Boone's so happy to be there. Like I said, I was on the microphone testing the mics, and when Ben walked in, and I almost shouted in the microphone, Ben Boone in the house. I was like, let me not do that. There's people outside.
He was a late addition, Ben Boone.
He was, yeah.
He was a late addition. We had a few declines, which we won't get into. Yeah. But we had a lot more. We had a lot more planned for the Gauntlet, because the thing is there were so many shows going on, and so many people were already booked by the time we realized we're going to do the Gauntlet. So we're like, man, we're going to have to really dig up some surprises to make this thing work. And we contacted a lot more people that, were unavailable, people that, aren't active wrestlers as well, that just weren't available to do it, or, out of town and things like that. But there were a few different plans for that Ben Boone's spot at number 4. And, I was like, I'm going to text Ben Boone. I think, he's been in so many different eras of AIW. I was like, I think he would be great, especially for, once we started working it out, and, we knew that we were going to start with 2 females. And I knew that he was doing this bachelor gimmick, and I thought that would just kind of be a funny spot. So, he didn't get added until a few days before Gauntlet. But, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Having everybody played their spots so well. The streak lives on for Marion Fontaine. 15 consecutive Gauntlet for the Golds.
I forgot to book him. I forget. I forget. I mean, if you think of it, it's been 3 years since we had a Gauntlet. And like so much has happened, and we had announced it, and then somebody said it, like a fan said it or something. And I went, oh fuck, I better text him and see if he could do it, And I texted him, and he was like, oh man, he's like, I'm having like a medical procedure on Friday. He's like, I would have not planned it if if I knew, and he's like, you know what? He's like, it's only minor procedure. He's like, I'll do it. He's like, maybe we'll just do one of those in and outs. but the streak has to live on. And I said, it's the only streak left in the whole business, man. Like, you have to do it. And he's like, yeah, all right. He's like, I'm in. I'll be there. So
there is one other streak, but
what's the other streak?
The Colin Delaney J-Lit.
Well, the Fontaine one is a little longer.
It is. Yeah, it is. I will, through conversation with him, I won't tell you the number, but he has a number in mind.
Oh yeah, he told me how.
Okay.
Which I think, I'm sure you're not listening, but if you're out there listening, Marion Fontaine, I think that number that you gave me on Saturday, I think we could double it easily in years for the Gauntlet. So,
especially if you do like you did this past Saturday, just a quick in and out. But great to have him. And then so we both have watched the Gauntlet.
Well, I mean, so what was great about the Fontaine thing, and what was great about a lot of the stuff is, I was watching it back, non-wrestling fan, and like it was getting, some of the stuff was getting pops, like, Fontaine in and out going, oh well, and just continuing to walk to the back, like stuff,
they loved it.
Just little stuff like that was getting, was getting reaction, and that's just kind of accustomed to a lot of things, but I think mostly it's because we really try to put in. I'm not trying to say AIW is better than anything or whatever, just my opinion, that we try to put out like total packages as opposed to like good wrestlers. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the one thing I noticed. Like a lot of these people in this company have been made straight from the school, straight from the AIW Academy, but the presentation is that they are stars. You know what I mean? And you really feel that in the Gauntlet, I think, this year. And if you really boil it down, how many people came from the AIW Academy, it's pretty crazy. And how, people think they're legitimate threats and all these different things. I was really proud of the Gauntlet match. Pull back the curtain a little bit, shout out to the Duke for facilitating a boardroom for us to really work this whole thing out and workshop so much stuff to make sure things made sense and to get Absolution kind of on a track. And it just it was great. And I don't want to continue, like, I'm going to bounce around. I'm going to bounce back to the actual Britt thing. It was, man, like the execution of all four people in that segment was so good. I typically do not micromanage stuff so much, but I really kind of laid out how I wanted it to go. And it was, in my head, like, this is the ECW pay-per-view match. This is the New Jack spot with the run-ins that leads into a match, right? And like Britt was New Jack, the last big pop. You can also say it's, a house show booking or whatever, but people were so hot that for Dom to get the belt off of Broski, and it got fucked off so early. And honestly, shout out to the rain and the bad weather that started later in the evening, because we were able to sneak in all of these surprises unnoticed. The only one that I know that the fans saw is Twan, because he went to get food and then he walked back right in through the fucking front door where the fans were. I said, Twan, you're surprised, man. Said, oh shit, for real? He walked in with like Burger King or something, like right through that front door. And I was like, I know there's fans out there, because I was just talking to like Caden and Justin Doan and all these people. And that was an hour ago. I know there's more people out there. He's like, oh man, I didn't know.
Oh, that's
So
so funny.
the only one that I know was blown was Twan, but everybody else snuck in. And I really shout out the bad weather because, I know that they were planning a tailgate and people were there were fans. I love you, but there were some fans, kind of snooping around a little bit, it's exciting. You want to know. But I think how things went down, that's proof to, sometimes you just got to live in the moment and experience it.
Yeah.
I don't think that there was a person on the planet that thought Britt Baker was going to be there.
No.
Even people in the locker room didn't know, the rest of the students, like that they didn't know, lots of the people on the show didn't know. I mean, but thankfully, that kind of rain, bad weather that was incoming, I think kind of, nixed some of this big tailgate plan. I know they did it for a little bit, but, the fact that we were able to get her in and then, shout out to the Tadmore Shrine who, unlocked this like secret doorway that had a bathroom because typically we have to share a bathroom with the public.
Right.
But they like unlocked a special door. So like, there was no reason that Britt needed to leave the backstage area or any of the mystery people needed to leave the backstage area and risk getting seen as the show went on. So, man, I've watched that. I don't know. I said it on Twitter. Well, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say we had a close call because not everyone knew about this bathroom, this extra bathroom yet at the time, and then we ended up locking the door from our side that goes in the bathroom we share with fans, and Caden just missed crossing paths with Manders before we found out. So, and then we found out about this other one. I was like, hey, nobody go in there or whatever. And so that was pretty amusing.
Yeah, we so it's finally like, so once she was there and everything, and then once everyone was there, I like left them be. We put everybody in that match in the back room that nobody was at, and I just like let them be. And then after intermission, they're all coming to Gorilla and they all seem very, very like we got, this is gonna be good. And they're all, it was crazy, like Britt's geared up, they're all geared up. The shooters got Scott Hall gear, you know what I mean? Because Britt had been wearing the Scott Hall stuff. They're all little kind of Easter eggs, that have been dropped over the last little while, like I said, with the Doctors In, and then they came out with this Scott Hall gear on and stuff. But when Britt was at Gorilla and the angle's getting ready to go down, like I unlocked my iPad and I gave it the Jingle Toes. And I said, when the run-ins start happening, start recording and like, don't stop. So I gave it to him and I told him, and then I go back and like, the shooters are out, and then the monitor goes out, and we're waiting for, like, we needed that visual of Chelsea giving the low blows, so Britt's music get hit, and the monitor went out. Like the monitor went out like as soon as the shooters get the clippers. And then we're flying blind back there. And I want to say maybe Calvin from Members Only or Chase Oliver, or both of them there were people peeking out of the curtain, right? Because nobody could see to hit the music. So like right when you hear the crowd react to the low blow, I like ran out in the crowd and I was like, I have to be in the crowd for this. And man, that was some electricity. Like, whew, like got legitimate goosebumps. I mean, craziest pop in AIW history by a million. You know, the Eddie Kingston surprise thing really rivals it, but
Yeah.
that was much fewer people. And, that show kind of, that Eddie Kingston reaction is really what made me feel comfortable about doing it this way with her unadvertised. Like, this is going to be a moment. We could have sold 1,000 tickets if we advertised Britt Baker, but this moment of nobody in the world expected to see her. There were plenty of AEW fans in the crowd because of Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
And it was just so perfect. I couldn't think of a better way to do that whole thing. I mean, and this was, and I get also, trust me, that not everyone is a fan of hers, but you have to respect that this was a gigantic moment. And, I wanted to do something big for especially the people that held on to these tickets for 2+ years, and they didn't have to, and they stuck by us. And, there's a lot of our loyal fans that have stuck by us throughout this whole pandemic. So I really wanted to pull out one of the biggest cards that I had up my sleeve. There aren't too many bigger than that, if at all. You know what I mean? That are possible at this point. So, that was where it was like everybody that was there is going to remember that happened, and that pop was such a genuine reaction. Like it was perfect, man, perfect. And I joked with her. I said, I don't care what you do after the music hits. You don't even have to get in the ring. Like that music hits and you stand on that stage is all I want. That's the moment that I've envisioned forever. And after that, you do whatever you want to do. I don't care. You don't even have to tag in. Like, because I knew that people were going to lose their minds.
They lost their minds again when she did get that hot tag, though. By the way.
Well, I know. I mean, and they went on and they had a really good match. Very high paced, and it was crazy. But like, I wanted to give back to our fan base. I mean, that's what it was all about, and I want people to realize. Like, I feel like some people have counted us out and like thought that we're not it anymore or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's not true. Like, we never fucking went anywhere. We've always been here, and we've always been able to do these things. But you got to wait until it matters. And on Saturday, I thought it mattered. Saturday was the kickoff to like our big kind of hot run through the summer. So I wanted to give that, like whatever kind of thoughts people have had about writing us off or not paying attention to us anymore. I wanted to make them second guess that, as well as give something back to our fans that have stuck with us. How crazy is it that people showed up at that show? They didn't know if Eddie Kingston was gonna or not gonna do a meet and greet, and then they got to do a meet and greet with Britt Baker. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Which that line was crazy at the end of the night.
Yeah. It was. It really was. But you saw people just start lining up immediately, which is great. Before we get out of here, of course, the one surprise we haven't talked about and commented on too much are the boys from Jollyville, and it's just funny watching Gauntlet for the Gold back. And in my mind, when that match is coming, I'm thinking to myself, is our color commentator Nathan Zagura, who now works for the Cleveland Browns as color commentary and, is employed by the NFL and whatnot, is he going to refer to them as the Fuckets during the course of this match? And he did not. He did what I thought he would, which is the right move for his sake, and continuously referring to them as the boys from Jollyville or Jollyville somehow. But it was awesome for them to get the reaction that they got as well, having not been back in 3 years.
And I knew that I knew that was going to be an okay one. That one was like for like the hardcore AIW fans. They've been gone for a few years. But those hardcores were really going to enjoy it. But I knew.
But what was great about having them as a surprise early on, because
I'm going to explain why I did it, and maybe you were going to say that, but everybody wanted to, everyone always would say T-Money, Broner, and all this stuff for the Gauntlet.
Yeah.
But like I kept, when we were going back and forth, when we're all working out this Gauntlet. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that the Fuckets were even booked until the Sunday before, like leading up to Gauntlet. I could be wrong.
That sounds right to me. Like I remember bringing them up and we're talking about it. And
there were a lot of people. There were like a lot of people that were booked within like a few days' notice. And my thing is once you send one out, like that's it.
The other one's there. Yeah.
The other one's there, and it kind of kills their pop if you're just using them for the Gauntlet. But if you just do this impromptu match, you get the pop, and then there's an explanation for them to be in the Gauntlet. So
yeah, I
decided to add a match. You know what I mean? Because everyone wanted to see T-Money and Broner. That's a hardcore old school AIW fan. So we decided, we threw a match down, and we were able to get them both in the Gauntlet, and the Jollyville Fuckets have signed, a multi-date deal with AIW again. So they are back. I don't know if it's forever, for a few shows, whatever, but I can say that, we've agreed to multiple dates coming out of the Gauntlet. So that's why we were able to kind of start setting up a few things here and there. And I was extremely happy to have those guys back. I mean, it was great. It was great seeing so many people, and yeah, I mean, they are a legendary AIW act, and
yeah, absolutely.
I knew that they were going to get a pop, but like, well, once they got that reaction, which was decent, I was like, oh my God, they're going to fucking lose their minds in a little bit. And then, everybody, CPA, everybody got great reactions
there's our other surprise,
in the Gauntlet.
CPA, yep.
Twan, I mean, even
and all the reactions. Yeah, but in fairness, Twan has hung out at multiple shows, so I think it's not a foregone conclusion that he would be on it. You know what I mean? That he could just be there because it's a big show and he wants to watch and enjoy.
Right.
I mean, everybody got the reactions that we wanted to, and the moments that we wanted to happen to get reactions. People reacted in a great way. Seeds have been planted, folks. I'll say that, but. The cool thing about the T-Money Broner showdown was that because we surprised everybody with Jollyville Fuckets previously in that tag team match, even the people who didn't really know them, the moment that T-Money walked out and it's just Isaiah Broner,
really
standing in that ring,
him,
Oh yeah, everybody else who had watched T-Money just beat the shit out of the Bitcoin boys earlier the night knew instantly at that moment, like, oh wow, these two are about to come face to face. This is shit's gonna go down here. So it still garnered a really great reaction there. CPA, what a goof! The 3 shirts that are exactly the same, just kept taking them off. That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see all those people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I'm extremely happy with how the event went. I'm just hoping that the momentum can continue, because we have a pretty hefty schedule coming up. June 17th, Odeon. July 7th, Winchester. Hasn't been announced yet, but now you know about it. July 23rd, Absolution. July 30th, the Bill Alfonso Hardcore Tournament, just announced yesterday. J-Lit, August 19th and 20th. And Russell Rager is returning to where it all began for the second time. we we will be back at the newly rebranded No Class, formerly known as Now That's Class, on August 27th. So a very busy summer, and I forgot about the North Canton Street Festival on August 13th. So very busy summer coming up. The North Canton Festival is free of charge, though.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, I really wanted to set the tone. I think we knocked it out of the park. One thing that, it sounds kind of cheesy, but, without our most loyal fans, none of this stuff works and none of this stuff gets over. You know what I mean? I would guarantee you a large portion of the crowd did not know who Gary the King Baller was. But the reaction that the fans give that knew him and were so happy to see him is infectious. You know what I mean? And you have to just give a shout out to all of those people that have, been riding with us for years and years and years. Because, their support becomes infectious and, helps continue to, get more people on board. There's probably people that didn't know who CPA was. And, I just think it's great that we do have people that are just so knowledgeable and, support us month in and month out and, sometimes twice a month. It's great. You know what I mean? And, all those people, especially, in the Discord and, everywhere else that are really, like just the most hardcore AIW fans, that stuff really helps the live atmosphere. And, without you guys, it's probably not as fun for those new fans that are there for the first time, I just wanted to shout out the fans because they make it a fun and welcoming atmosphere, and it's, not like that at everywhere else at other independents throughout the country. So I just wanted to kind of, thank our fan base for, making Gauntlet happen because honestly, so much of that stuff could have fallen flat on its face. But they made it fun for everybody because, they know the product, and it helps kind of get more people on board. Listen, we're doing a gauntlet with, very obscure quote unquote AIW legends. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but the fan support just helped the event, just go from, probably, I don't know, just knocked it out of the park. I don't even know how to explain it, but the energy from the fans is really what made Saturday night, one of the best AIW shows that's ever happened, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's well said. And I think that's a great ending point and ending thought. There's so much more that we could talk about with this show. We will at a later date, but, we want to talk about the big surprises and the big surprise that you all got to see this past Saturday at Gauntlet for the Gold. And obviously, we've taken up probably enough of your day talking about it, but there's so much more to talk about, and we will at another point in time. As I said, seeds have been planted for what's to come here in the coming months of AIW and shows. There are more surprises in store, I can tell you that. And, to try and learn more and more and to hear more about what happened this past weekend, you're just going to have to listen to this podcast whenever we throw it out. So for AIW owner John Thorne.
Hold on. Before you sign off, I mean, it's not any like news, like super breaking news, but something that we forgot to mention is we were able to meet with the organizers of Great Lakes WrestleFest on Saturday. And this is where this Bill Alfonso Hardcore tournament has kind of sprung out of. That meeting, and they are also kind of revamping their ticketing, which should be available at the latest this Friday. Last year they kind of just went with 2 ticket levels. and now they're going to kind of revamp that and make it a little bit more affordable. Make the seating around the ring a little bit more premium, and kind of make the event a little bit more well-rounded as far as pricing goes. A very great meeting with those guys and gals on Saturday, and it looks like it's going to be a very fun day of activities and different things. I can probably confirm, Steve, that I believe we will be doing our first ever live The Card Is Going to Change in front of an audience on July 30th.
Wow. So
for the Bill Alfonso hardcore tournament. So that means you have to get there before 15 minutes before doors.
Hey, pal, I was there well before 15 minutes before doors this past
weekend.
That's
probably because Eddie Kingston wanted to come and see everybody, but we're going to have to get you there a little early in Ashtabula because we're going to do a live Card Is Going to Change podcast, I believe. Maybe some of your other favorite regional based wrestling podcasts will also be participating in the WrestleFest afternoon before we start the Bill Alfonso hardcore tournament, which is going to start around 5 p.m. on July 30th. So yeah, I just wanted to give those guys and gals a shout out because they are working hard they're just like us in Cleveland and Akron, they want to bring quality wrestling event to their area in Ashtabula. And we are going to help them. Last year was certainly an experiment, and I think we all learned things from that kind of experiment. And we're going to move forward this year and try some different things out. So hopefully, people will come out and support them because, they just want to do, like what everyone else wants to do, and they just want good wrestling to come to their town. So tickets on sale this Friday at the latest.
There you go, folks. There you have it. All right. So officially, we bring this one to an end. So much more information to come your way in coming weeks, and more recapping, I'm sure, and stories from over this past weekend to come as well. So for AIW owner John Thorne, my name is Steve Guy. We will talk to you next time right here on The Card Is Going to Change.
And one last thank you goes out to you, Tony Khan. We appreciate you.